And I'm wondering if they decide to go for mirrors, Ret Warrior mirrors, or if they decide to bring in Valet to try and change things up.
Yeah, we're going to have to see here as these blind locks roll out. Not going to be seeing Valet, but we can see a mirror from these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we saw the last time these two teams met. And I would say it didn't look too good for Reload Esports. I believe, if memory serves me right, I think Cowana Gaming kind of smashed them in these mirrors. So we'll see if they've had any practice. They can come back into these and put their best foot forward, because I think this is just a really difficult matchup. I mean, Cowana Gaming, I feel like they're so veteran on this composition. Mercy, of course, on that Warrior, going to be playing a little bit of an ult here. Big setup here on Mystic early on. And normally the way we see this matchup kind of develop is a lot of cooldowns to get traded early on. Shamans have to trade out a lot to kind of stabilize through the wings. All right, now getting dangerously low. Catches a huge heal there by Tana. And looks like both teams will be able to survive the opener, but the early Avenging Wrath, the early Ascendants, going to be traded out by both these teams.
Tana actually preemptively tremored Mercy's Fear right there. So a little bit of a, they're putting ahead here on the side of Cowana Gaming. Nerd Rage right now in battle stance, looking for a lot of damage. Mercy now in battle stance as well. They could go after him. Let's see here. It's basically a big slugfest here. Even Lonta throwing in some lightning bolts here for good measure with that earth elemental in the mix of things. Both of these shamans just completely free out of crowd control. And the setups are typically a Storm Bolt and a Hammer of Justice at the same time, and then just big damage here. And mana could definitely play a factor here. Mercy almost getting taken down. Kara using his Divine Shield right there just to get the damage out. Mystic dropping danger. And Mystic is just going to get erased there. Kara with the, pretty sure that was an offensive bubble to force the other Reds bubble.
I don't think it was an offensive bubble. It was a 10%. That was some good old Tom Zuggery, just insane damage on both. Like, these comps, when they go head to head, just, it's like two freight trains going right at each other, and just the smallest little mismovement and you're gone.
And it's gone. I mean, we're going to see it in the replay exactly how that one did happen, but this is...
He definitely bubbled because he was going to die. What, like, Kara goes to like 10% health.
Look at their health. Just go from 100 to 10 to 100 to 10, and it's just up and down, and this can happen to me. You can't really blame Mystic, because maybe he was just a second away from Word of Glory. We'll see it. Mystic gets a little bit low. We see the counter attack here on Kara, potentially. Let's see.
That hit
it is down to 10% health. Divine Shield comes in, and then it's a Hammer of Justice on Mystic, and just a few moments later, look, Mystic, it looks like he's gonna get away, and then nope, goodbye. Could be on global, no Divine Shield, and that's going to be game number 1 in favor of Cowana Gaming. And all honesty, it looked pretty evenly matched in the early stages of that game. Definitely unfortunate, though. I mean, Cowana Gaming, they're going to be happy to pick up that first win, but that's an unfortunate way to lose if you are Reload Esports, because I would say they are on the back foot in these mirrors.
Yeah, definitely not a good way to start out a series like that, losing in just a little bit over a minute. CBTs, was this the series last time we saw this? Was this the one that you used the blender ball analogy?
Yeah, the protein shake. You got like the shaman is like water, right? He's blue, he's the water. And then the paladins are the strawberries. And then the warriors are the protein powder. And then you just blend it all together. It's a protein shake.
No, I mean, it definitely makes sense when you see that many players just whacking each other with swords in the middle of the map. It's definitely a good representation. But we're going to be heading into game number 2 very quickly here. We'll see if we see that mirror once again. Do you think that's going to be the rest of the series then, Ben? Just them pick the same comps?
I think so. I would be surprised if we saw anything else. I mean, there is the possibility that we see Reload Esports play something else here. I mean, depending, they might be able to try, or they might try to turn this map on its head. See both these players. This is a new addition.
I love this so much.
It's either players during the draft. Look at Nerd Rage. He's
so happy.
We won. Yeah, this is great. We're Ret Warrior. We're going to Hook Point. Yay! And then Valet's like, "Uh-oh, what are we gonna do here?" A little bit, Seems like he's trying to figure it out. But yeah, on this small map, Cowana Gaming, I would be very surprised if they don't just lock in the same thing. And I feel like at this point, in this matchup against Reload Esports, the Ret Warrior Shaman is uncontested. They could just play it in the mirror, they could play it against everything else, and they're looking good. For Valet, they're going to have to either just go into the mirror, and I would say be a slightly disadvantaged, or maybe they've come up with a different composition with some of the changes that we've seen.
There's no way they're not
Okay.
mirroring on this map. Like, I was thinking maybe Shadow
hope
Priest
they
Warrior
do.
on a
I
bigger
would
map.
love-
There's no way they're not mirroring.
That would be such a fun game, especially on here on Hook Point, if we saw those two comps locked in once again.
Why
I
are they
wanna see
taking
it.
so long?
I haven't seen.
they're
You see
talking.
that? Do you guys see that
Go ahead.
clock on Nerd Rage wall? I swear, I haven't seen one of those clocks since
Oh,
I
Roman
was like
numerals.
5 years old. Yeah, I swear, those are so old. They used to have them in my school, in like elementary. That's
I like that he's got like a candle burning in the back too.
Yeah.
He's a very
The vibes
romantic
going on.
warrior. He's a very romantic warrior.
he lit one up for Mystic.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? He's actually just being eco-friendly. He's saving electricity.
It's true. That's the only source of light. That and his monitor in his room right now.
Maybe he's just super
I
eco-friendly.
mean, you only need your monitor, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I do that a lot. They say it's bad for your eyes, though.
They're starting to make blue
But-
light filter monitors, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you could download those like programs that filter it out.
Oh, there's
Those-
programs that do that? What?
Yeah.
What?
You can time it too for like the time of day. It'll just do it automatically for you. It'll give like a
What?
red tint to your. Yeah, I'll link it to you. during
we
the
got to
break.
talk, Sid. Yeah, we
Yeah,
got to talk.
Yeah, we
Talk later.
Yeah,
There
we
you
can talk
go.
about this
They
series. We are going to be seeing them
thought-
lock in a mirror once again, up to that challenge, and look at the reaction on Nerd Rage as well as they lock that in. But Valet, I don't know, he doesn't look too sure about that choice.
I think he's...
I mean, it's never. I feel like personally, it's never a good feeling when you're kind of watching your team play and it's not going their way. You know, you kind of at that point it's kind of out of your hands. I mean, he can offer them some tips and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I mean, Valet, an expert player, but I always prefer to be like when I was competing, I preferred kind of being in on the action, getting to actually play.
Yeah.
And I think for Valet, it's a tough spot for him to be in.
It feels like, obviously I've never competed in one of these myself, but I feel like if I were in that position, it would be like the most stressful place to be in, because you're right, like at least you have control of it when you're playing in the actual game itself. So it's got to be a difficult place to be in for Valet, but I'm sure, like Ven said, this guy's a vet, so he's probably offering a lot of very sound advice, as we just saw there with that player POV. Game number 2 here, going to be heading into Hook Point, seeing the both of the same compositions from both of these teams here, Cowana Gaming and Reload Esports, not shying away from this mirror matchup. It's game number 2 on Hook Point, and we're seeing our nice NPC doing a little chicken dance to get things started.
So they, the Red Paladins have stopped playing, at least in that first game, they stopped playing the tank legendary. The Templar's Verdict one, Final Verdict, got buffed, and now they're playing the damage one. That's why it's so spiky. They don't have that safety net of the Reign of Kings to proc for them. So they got to be really careful with their Divine Shields. This is going to be high intensity start to finish.
Ooh, Nerd Rage Car going to be taking a huge hit of damage early on. Everyone has just blown every cooldown. Earthen Wall Totems get dropped, preventing a little bit of the damage, but Kara on the run doesn't want to get one shot like we saw just happen to Mystic in that game number 1, only lasting about a minute. Kara right now getting interrupted, getting bursted down just a little bit, actually disarmed. The Earthen Wall Totem gets dropped down, full fear landing. Tana actually preemptively tremored it, nicely done by him, I do believe so. Or it was actually the Sank coming in from Kara. So a lot of fear protection from both these teams, and that's why you need that kind of cross crowd control where you get the Hammer of Justice at the same time as the Stormbolt, especially if you're going to be looking for those fears, those intimidating shouts.
Yeah, and right now both Reds just kind of avoiding each other, but Mystic is going to go in here and start swinging. Let's see who comes out ahead. Any one of these guys getting a Wings proc could be big for them. Mystic right now seems to be the one taking the brunt of that exchange. He gets disarmed actually, so gonna opt to use that on the Rat, not on the Warrior here. And there's a Wings proc. Kara in a stun here, big damage coming in.
The
Spirit
Link?
gets dropped. 2 Spirit
Whoa,
Links.
he
He's still going
sniped it!
down through it. They kill it immediately. I don't even think it healed Kara there. or it healed. Like he took so much damage that it didn't look like it healed. And Mercy here in battle stand still looking to get some damage. Tana in the backline bombing out those heals, spamming the healing waves here on cooldown. Can they find some damage onto Mystic is the question now. Kara, he does have his Hammer of Justice here potentially. If he can find one onto the healer maybe. Oh, they get a fear here onto Lontar, but Sanctuary comes out from Mystic. Gonna remove that intimidating shot. Very nice job by Mystic, but that means if they do stun Lontar, there's gonna be no way to actually remove that stun. Big damage here onto Mystic while he's disarmed. Kara just getting hexed here for a second, but he does get dispelled, playing in that Earthen Wall totem, but now it's faded, and now Nerd Rage looking to get some pressure here, but Kara could be in a lot of pressure. Nerd Rage is in battle stance as well, trades out the die by the sword here as both of these teams keep on chucking here in midfield.
Oh, they get Divine Shield from Mystic, and Lontar's in a full hex! Kara on the back foot though, as Mercy and Mystic are taking less damage. Now Kara's going to respect and Divine Shield. Cooldowns are burning down quick. Mana starting to burn down faster on the side of Cowana Gaming. Reload Esports are looking good if they can keep it together and keep their composure. They're trying to chase down Kara. Kara has been a lot more defensive. You see him moving away from the fight a lot more than the side of Reload Esports. Any little crowd control here could close it out. There's no medallion for Kara, no medallion for Tana. Are they going to be able to go for it? Lontar trinkets out of a Stormbolt to try and recover. Mystic is desperate. Nerd Rage now getting slapped and swapped to as Kara was trying to avoid, but Kara's going to pop that Seraphim. He's loading up for a big hit of damage. Who are they going to go after? They're smacking Mercy, but I think they want to go after Mystic. Big damage coming in between both Rep Paladins here. No Divine Shield on either side. Kara going to just Blessing of Protection much earlier here. Maybe bait out some purges, but it didn't seem entirely necessary. Lontar Flesh crafting to immune incoming crowd control as he looks to move into midfield, trying to catch a Hex on Tana, but Tana line of sights the Stormbolt. Lontar's not going to find a Hex. Good line of sight from Tana. Now Mystic is stunned up. They're turning this around. Beautiful crowd control. Intervene comes in from Mercy, redirecting damage away from Mystic. Lontar is still hexed up. Kara gets blasted out.
Whoa.
Reload Esports look good in game 2.
That was much improved. I mean, game number 1 was kind of a throwaway for Reload Esports. I would say Mystic getting caught off guard just a little bit, but this matchup is very high intensity. Reload Esports, I think this is the first time we've seen them actually win a mirror match against this team, so things looking good for them. Now tied up 1-1, and it could just be the Ret Warrior Shaman mirrors for this entire series.
My goodness, what a quick couple of games this has been, especially compared to the last series. We can see just how quickly Reload Esports was to be able to secure game number 2 here.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to this Shield of Vengeance that Mystic uses. He drops his Shield of Vengeance a little bit later when that big burst spike happens, and he combos it with his actual burst. And that's why, they just basically explode. Kara just gets completely erased. Kara, very defensive here. He has no trinket. He has no bubble. He has no Blessing of Protection. And look at Mystic here. He's going to get stunned, and then he's going to reverse that pressure. As soon as he comes out here, he's going to trade his shield. There it is, Shield of Vengeance, War Stomp, and boom. The shield didn't even explode there.
It didn't even explode.
It exploded on Nerd Ridge. Yeah, okay,
Whoa.
never mind that. That was a lot of damage.
Damn, Mystic stepped up for this one. He went in. He was not happy about that game number 1 result. So, yeah, definitely doing a good job. This matchup went on a little sooner. I kind of wonder why Kara decided to use his Blessing of Protection the way he did.
Yeah.
Feels like it was a little preemptive, in all honesty. He was like 70% health. No, I feel like he only had 1 person on him. His healer wasn't in any crowd control. I don't know if that was just an outright mistake or what he was trying to set up with that, but that definitely seemed odd.
It must have been a pre-Blessing of Protection because he knows they're using Hammer of Justice and he can't use Blessing of Protection in Hammer of Justice. So maybe he was thinking, oh, I think they're about to attack me. I need to preemptively use this or I'm not going to be able to. That I feel like that had to have been his thought process, but they didn't commit anything. So maybe he got baited. But it seems really hard. Blessing of Protection doesn't seem reliable. Considering it gets purged, a lot of the magic damage goes through it, and so does Condemn on the Warrior. So using it preemptively, it didn't seem like they were really committed at that point. I think preemptively would have been good, but he was way ahead. Like nothing was really happening at that moment.
Did he get disarmed maybe?
Oh yeah, he could have bopped a
so.
disarm. I think using it to bop a disarm actually might be the best way to use it if it's on your cooldowns.
So.
I don't think he did that, though. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe not. I didn't see it.
Okay.
Disarm.
All right, well, I'm loving the way this series is going so far. I wonder if this is going to be another Game 5 series for these two guys. We saw how Game number 1 and Game number 2 went. It just seems like with these compositions in particular, Zico, it's just like anyone can go down at any moment. I feel like if you're watching from home right now, this has got to be such an exciting matchup to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big slugfest. Like the Warriors, it's really tough for them as well because they're the ones who have to slow down the Eret's damage, and they have to kind of alter between defensive stance and battle stance. And if you get caught in battle stance, you can just die in a matter of a split second. We haven't seen that just yet, but similar to what happened last game there to Nerd Rage as soon as Kara went down. That can definitely happen with Kara still being alive. So Warriors definitely have to find CC on the healers. They have to balance their offense and their defense, and they also have to slow down the enemy red. So they have a lot of things to worry about. And being a healer in this matchup, you're just basically pressing all your buttons on cooldown and praying that it's going to be enough. And I mean, these rats, anything can happen with these rats. Just one divine toll can basically take the entire match. So it's a lot of things to pay attention to, and a lot of those things can make or break the game.
Most definitely, and we are seeing as well, Ashamains is going to be the next map that we're going to see, quite a bit different than Hook Point as well. Ven, how is that going to change the pacing of game number 3 here?
I don't think it changes it at all, in all honesty, because everyone is just kind of, doesn't matter how big the map is, when all 4 members, yeah, exactly. Just got basically a two-handed weapon tornado in the middle of the map, people throwing in stuns, throwing in burst, and whoever can time that better, or honestly, whoever gets a little bit luckier with crits and stuff like that, that can throw the tide of this matchup. So it's just going to be all about that cooldown trading, making sure you're not overlapping cooldowns, and the longer you can do that, the further you can kind of stay ahead in a matchup like this. So I think no map really favors either team in this particular matchup, but I still expect this one to be a very quick game. I think there's almost no way it goes over 5 minutes.
All right, well, let's check it out. Tied up right now, 1-1, best of 5 in Ashamain's Fall. It's Cowana Gaming versus Reload Esports.
Ooh, double stun combo immediately here. Mystic's gonna Trinket, trade out the Sank. There is the Shield of Vengeance. Mercy trading out Die by the Sword. Nerd Rage trading out Die by the Sword.
Oh!
Mystic! Yeah, what did you say? I'll be surprised if this game is longer than 5 minutes. Try 5 seconds.
That was 20 seconds. Hey,
That's
listen, okay, I knew it was going to be fast. I was just trying to,
You know what they did?
whatever.
You know what they did? They baited them. So what the Warriors have been doing every game is they pair up Intervene, Die by the Sword, with the Ret Paladin's Avenging Wrath. But what they did is they popped wings, but nothing else, I think. So they just popped that, baited Mercy to intervene. He intervenes, intervene ends. Then they pop every single cooldown.
Oh my
and
gosh.
then KO the Ret.
I think that's literally the fastest game we've ever seen, at least for this season.
It's the fastest game in the
Here's
season.
intervene parry. So now Kara or Mystic takes no damage during intervene, Die by the Sword, and it ends right now. And then they pop everything.
What is happening?
Man.
I swear. They bait him here. They hodge him. So he intervene parries. They wait. And then Kara slaps him down with Wake right here.
That was a crazy amount of damage. Like that, if you're Mystic, and believe me, I've been in a situation like this before. I can relate. You really got to just shake this one off. I mean, that's 2 games in a row under a minute. You go down without using your bubble, but it's so hard. I mean, you're in that situation. His health literally went from 100. It was at the end of a Shield of Vengeance too. So I feel like he was feeling pretty confident with the shield up. He went from 100%, 50%, dead. Just boom, in 1 second. And I feel like there's almost, I don't say there's nothing you can do in that situation, but you can't really get too upset at yourself for not using, Divine Shield.
Yeah, certainly a very frustrating position for Reload Esports to be in. I mean, we're probably going to be seeing that stress on the player cams very soon here as we head into that draft. But you're right, Ben. They kind of just hopefully they're able to put that behind them here because they still have a chance to turn this one around. However, Cowana Gaming very, very close to securing their win in this series here. Super Teasy, you good? Looks like you're chuckling at something.
I wasn't expecting.
Or you just
that. I don't know.
okay? You're still,
Rep
you're
Paladins
still
are
in shock.
scary.
Yeah, this whole comp is scary for either side. That could have been Cowana Gaming just as easily. I feel like. I mean, that was obviously an incredible setup, but I don't know. I like these mirror matches. More of this.
How much did that legendary get buffed?
I can't remember exactly. I think 15%. I don't know why 15 is in my mind, but I think 15. I think it was big enough that they're now not wearing the prot one. Maybe the prot one's better though. Into the damage one. Like, what if you had the prot one there? He probably would have lived, right?
Wouldn't even have procced.
You don't. Oh, you know it wouldn't have.
Yeah, he actually would have just died without it procking. So.
Yeah.
All right.
It looks good.
There's
going to be a lot of surprises like this. I can't wait for us to see Rogues later as well.
Ooh,
It's going to be very exciting.
You think we will? I guess we will.
there's no way.
I think there's a chance that
No.
we see the Rogue one-shot build. Obviously not in this series, but maybe a little bit later throughout the day, maybe when Unitas is playing or something. I think there's a chance we see that, and that would be so exciting. I would love that.
Oh goodness. All right, Tulveron, Cowana Gaming, same comp. Reload Esports. Are they going to switch it up, or are they going to play the same comp? What do we think, guys?
I think they have to play the same comp. When the game played out the way it's supposed to, they looked really good. Honestly,
Yeah.
on hook point, it seemed like they were going toe to toe. I would say they even, the game was going in their favor. So, it's just, I feel like if they switch, then they're in their own heads. That's the way I see it. If Reload Esports switches it up, then they're in their own heads.
Actually,
and the series is going to look to be. You think?
I don't mind Warlock Shadow Priest for one game into a Resto Shaman specifically. Like, I actually wouldn't mind it. One game. I think like
on match point though, is that?
It's like
I think you take it. I think you try it on one game. I don't think they will, but
one thing I don't think a lot of people consider. I'm not saying you're not considering it, but I feel like once you get out of that. I feel like if Reload Esports switches, they have to completely shift their mentality. Like, Lontar's going to have to completely change the way he plays. Mercy's going to have to play a different class. And it's like you kind of have to I feel like you have to warm up and get comfortable, especially when you're playing such a volatile matchup like this, that I think they could get caught off guard really easily. So I think the safer play for them is just keep running the cleave setup and just anticipate going to a game 5. I think switching between like the caster cleave that has to like dampen and play really defensive, and then going to the melee cleave where you have to play like really, really aggressive. I just think the two styles, it can be jarring to make that switch, and I feel like that's when mistakes get made.
It's not like they're getting stomped on either, so.
No, that last game, I mean,
Well, okay.
both times they lost.
They
They lost.
I mean, the first one wasn't as bad. That first one was like 2 to 3 minutes, I think, right? Game number 1?
Game number 1 was less than 1 minute.
Game 2 was the longer one. Game 2 is their best game. I think
that's just going by so quickly.
So what we know from this matchup is if the game goes short, Cowana Gaming wins. If the game goes long, Reload Esports wins. That's how these mirrors are going to play out.
I don't know if that's 100% going to be. Maybe.
I will say, look at the confidence in Nerd Rage right now.
I don't know. He's got
like
restless leg syndrome. I feel like
is
that ready to go, or is that anxiety?
I don't think that's a nervous bounce. I think that's like the little hop you do when you're like,
he's looking at the clock,
right at the starting line, like ready for that gun to go off. Like he's on his toes right now. He's ready to go. It's just the difference right now. And Blay, almost through every time we've seen his cam, there's really just been his just deadpan, very serious, very focused in. So it just on cam alone and confidence alone, it kind of looks like Cowana Gaming might have this one here, especially if we see a repeat of that last game. But what would we like to see differently from Reload Esports? Obviously, they don't want to fall for that bait again. But is there something else that they could do here to maybe try and set something up like we saw Cowana Gaming do heading into this next game?
I think it's all about the wings.
Divine Shield.
pre Gladiator's emblem, like just make
maybe macro. I think he's probably using emblem and Shield of Vengeance at the same time for a bigger shield. So
split them
maybe
up.
save that a little bit. Like intervene parry stops all the damage, so don't shield during that time. And then when intervene parry is ending, then shield. And then try and attack at the same time. I think maybe they pressed it at the same time, so he didn't have any buffer after the intervene fell.
Okay, well, let's see what they can do here. Cowana Gaming could potentially shut this one down 3-0, but Reload Esports not shying away once again this entire series, despite the score right now from this mirror matchup. Tolveron Arena, Cowana Gaming on match point.
All right, I mean, look out for Mystic in this one. Hammer of Justice on Kara, immediately going to be trinketing out of that one. Nerdridge getting low. Big damage from both these teams. There it is. Kara looking to get really aggressive. Mystic, what is he going to do as a response? How is he going to keep himself alive? It looks like Kara is the one on the back foot. He could get taken down. He has to be very careful, opting to just run away early on in the match. Spirit Link Totem gets sniped off immediately. Tana just trying to keep his team aggressive in terms of cooldowns. Mystic looking a lot healthier. This one's Kara getting extremely low. Big heals come in from Tana in the nick of time. I cannot believe he did not use the Divine Shield. What a volatile matchup this is.
Yeah, Tana had to use his trinket there, though, on that Stormbolt Hammer of Justice combo. So the next time they do that, there's no trinkets. Now they're doing it in reverse. Lontar's going to trinket out of this time around here. Both Shamans looking for hexes here. Not looking like Tana's going to find it. He actually used his Spirit Walker's Grace, that immunity to interrupt, to try to snipe it out of the Stormbolt there. So Lontar could potentially try to get that later on with his own Spirit Walker's Grace. Hex comes out onto Kara, forcing the Dispel. Here's a full Hammer of Justice. Kara's in a lot of trouble here just because they landed that one Hex. Just the smallest little adaptations here. Hexing on the Dispel, very, very nice. And there is the counter Hammer of Justice, but it gets instantly Dispelled there because there was no cover there onto Lontar. Mercy's going to have his Fear coming up in about 10 seconds. Could look to get that onto Tana. Tana's going to have to preemptively Tremor that. Mystic still on 50%. Kara getting disarmed here. Not choosing to try to use anything to get out of that one. Here's the Fear onto Lontar. Lontar with the Sanctuary there from Mystic, actually with the Blessing of Protection from Mystic, is going to remove that. So nicely down there, utilizing that ability. And now, once again, the Meatball Blender keeps on blending here in the midfield. Nerd Rage now going after Mystic in battle stance. Big damage onto Mystic. He's got the Shield of Vengeance. Kara needs to be careful. Beautiful disarm there. Kara would have been in a lot of trouble if it wasn't for that disarm. And these Warriors, they're doing everything they can to keep their Reds alive.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful Fear stun. And Lontar sneaking in for a Hex. Nerd Rage charges over, pushing Lontar away. Good charge by Nerd Rage, but Nerd Rage is actually getting targeted down a bit here. Is Tana going to recover? He goes for Ascendance Healing Wave, a very slow but efficient heal. Flesh crafting an incoming stun, trying to find it, doesn't hit it. Mercy is holding on to that. So Nerd Rage is still holding on to that Stormbolt, waiting to go for it. Now disarmed. He's going to trinket, go for the Stormbolt, try to go for the kill. Big damage on Mystic. Mystic immediately respects it using Divine Shield, but now Kara gets blasted. Tana is almost out of mana at this point. Tana's been playing way more inefficiently on mana. Kara's falling behind. They're trying to still just take out Mystic with pressure. Although maybe he's playing inefficiently, it's allowing Cowana Gaming to be more comfortable and get pressure out and close the game out. But they need to win it very soon. This is not comfortable. Pre-Sanctuary on the Stormbolt by Kara. Insane Sanctuary timing from Kara right before he got Hammer of Justice. Instant Dispel. That's going to allow them to turn this around. This is going to be a huge pressure onto Mystic on match point. Can they close it out here? Mystic's in execute range. Can they finish it? Spirit Link gets killed off instantly. What is with these Spirit Link totems? They don't even work. They're getting killed faster than anything I've ever seen. Intervene onto Mystic. He's redirecting damage, but even through Intervene, oh, Kara, 1%. Trades on Divine Shield, manages to stay in the fight and try and keep going, but Tana's now almost completely out of mana. Kara's not fully recovered. Nerd Rage has to make a big trade as well. Tana's in a full Hex. He breaks himself out by running into the Cleave and dropping a Spearling Totem. He drops Healing Tide Totem, trying to recover through the AoE pressure. Goes for a YOLO Hex. He fakes out Mercy on the pummel. Tana is sneaking up on Lontar. He gets feared though. He has to Trinket of Fear. Drops the Healing Tide, trying to recover. Will he be able to? The Sanctuary hit there as well, unfortunately. So Kara, maybe some overlap. But Lontar's in a Hammer of Justice. Where's the stun on the Mystic? They need a stun on Mystic. He's going to be able to heal through the damage otherwise. Both teams on the ropes here. Full stun on Tana. Kara going to bless your protection. They purge that off instantly. Tana out of crowd control, but there's no mana left in the tank for Tana. Double War Stomp comes in from Mystic as they look to close this out, and they will turn it around, taking it to game number 5.
Wow, what a back-and-forth game that was. Reload Esports, they hold on. Lontar doing a great job in this one, managing his mana. I feel like that was such a huge factor in this game. was able to hold on to that mana, and then as it went later, they did have that advantage. And this is the second time now where they don't just get gibbed and Mystic falls over, where they're actually winning the long game, and it's looking good. So I don't know if Reload Esports has just practiced a lot in this mirror matchup or what, because I feel like if we see another kind of solid game play out, they're looking good for a victory.
Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about in the pregame. If the game goes long, Reload wins. And I mean, here you can see Tana's pushing in here for the Hex. If they can get this Hex at the back end of this Hammer of Justice here, it's game over. But look at that disarm here onto Mercy or onto Nerd Rage, preventing the Stormbolt from being used there with the Hammer of Justice. And because of Tana, not being able to get that line of sight there in time to get that nice Hex, they're not able to find the kill. If he could have gotten the Hex there, it might have been enough. But at this point, Tana has almost no mana left. He comes out from the CC, tries to load up a healing wave, doesn't find it, and that's going to be the game. I think this game was decided a little bit earlier here when I got to give Kara a big shout out this game. He landed so many preemptive Blessing of Protection, Sanctuaries, all these big plays, and they landed that double CC when Lontar got his Spirit Link off. If he could have, if they had a little bit more damage there, they actually would have killed him before Lontar would have been able to get a Spirit Link off, and this game would have been completely different. So maybe a little bit unlucky with their damage there, but still, both of these teams playing super, super well.
Yeah, they most definitely are. Both of them just looking so strong right now. Even when we see them, lose maps like we saw Reload Esports just do, they come back even stronger. And now we're seeing these two teams tied up once again here in this series. 2 series in a row that we're going to be heading to a game number 5. And it's just something you really love to see. And just individually, every one of these players is absolutely so talented on these specs. And I just love when we get to see very, very close mirror matches such as this, Ben.
I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this in Europe in terms of Ret Warriors. So, I mean, these are the 2 Titan teams. They're consistently making top 4s. There was a few teams that they struggled with, but always these 2 teams doing a great job. And I really thought going into this one, based off the last result we saw, that Cowana Gaming was going to walk away with it. But it looks like Reload Esports, they've gotten to practice, or maybe they just went back and kind of reevaluated where it went wrong for them the last time these 2 teams did meet, because they're looking good. I mean, in the kind of long, consistent games, it seems like that really goes their way. Cowana Gaming, I don't know if they're going to have to come up with a new strategy to kind of get that gimmicky one-shot, or kind of just adapt, play a little bit more conservative for the longer game. But Game 5 is going to be really interesting.
I think it most definitely will. When we spoke with Valet behind the scenes, he said that they've obviously been practicing quite a bit. We can see that right now. As Ven said, they've certainly stepped it up since the last time we saw them. And Valet actually told us that he believed that their team could beat every single person right now in the circuit. And I think that confidence is really showing through right now. We see them get a little bit behind on the back foot a little bit and just come back even stronger. And so I think they may be able to secure this next victory here. But it's certainly been a very, very back and forth series. And now, unfortunately, Zico, they're not going to have the advantage of the loser's pick in the draft process.
Yeah, I do feel like this is the one time where it's not going to matter. When you have that, mirror, assuming Cowana locks in the mirror once again here, I feel like it's not going to matter. It's going to come down to those little micro outplays that we saw in that previous game. Who can land those double stunts better? Who can get the Hex, force out the Dispel, get the Hammer of Justice? Who can protect? Which warrior can protect their rep better? Small things like that. Which healer can manage their mana just a little bit better? Get a little bit more value out of their cooldowns. Just small things like that is what's going to decide this match. Or a big one shot again. That's always on the table as well.
Can never take it off the table.
Oh yeah, this is World of Warcraft.
It's true. And I don't know. I think everyone from watching from home would hope for another one shot. Always very fun to see, very exciting. As we've seen in this series multiple times, you never know where this type of gameplay is going to go and how exactly it's going to end. But we've got about 30 seconds left on the board for Cowana Gaming to lock in their composition. Assuming they're going to pick the same one, it's very, very clear they're using their full timer to really talk everything out, really be super careful heading into this next series, because this is the game that absolutely counts. It's starting off the round robin circuit. There's 3 more cups after this one. They definitely want to start off on a good foot here. I feel like it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the games heading into for either of these teams, and it's definitely nowhere you want to be starting off on a loss. So Cowana Gaming, once again, we're going to see a mirror from both sides heading into game number 5. Stupides, when we head into this game, Reload Esports definitely the underdog, but now both of these teams have proved that really anyone could win here in this series.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I think that they're playing more proficient is Lontar's mana management for these later games. It kind of feels like Cowana Gaming are just banking on these one taps. I almost wonder if Mystic had been able to trade cooldowns, how those games would have gone. It seems like Reload Esports are in a really good position right now. Perhaps Cowana Gaming just keep playing into their strengths, which appears to be aggression, so Tana will push in more for hexes. And if they can get a lot of hexes, then they can win the game through this method and just sacrifice the fact that Lontar is playing more efficiently. It's always a big gamble because basically you have 2 heals to choose. You have Healing Surge, really fast, heals a lot, but it costs a lot. Then you got Healing Wave, which is much slower, but it costs less. So do you go for the slower cast and hope the target doesn't die before you finish it? Because that's what you're thinking when you start casting, is like, does this end before the target dies? And if you don't feel safe, you use Healing Surge. If you feel safe, you use Healing Wave. And every time the Shaman makes that decision, one of them is getting ahead of the other one. So Lontar is able to kind of pre-heal with Healing Wave and get more efficiency off. So Cowana Gaming have a choice. They can either try and play more efficiently, or they can just go all in on aggro, use Healing Surge, and go for hexes.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing to keep an eye out here as we head into this next game, keeping an eye out on those Shamans, how they're using their resources here. But both of these guys, both Lontar and Tana, we've seen them, very long-term veteran players in the AWC. We've seen them time and time again here, so it's really cool to see them both finding their stride, finding these teams that they're really clicking with, and finding that synergy, because both of these guys doing such a good job of managing their team. And game number 5 is going to be really a proving ground for these 2 teams. But Zico, what kind of setups do you want to see? What should we be looking for from either side?
So there's a couple of ways they can outplay these setups as well, but the main thing that both of these teams wants to do is they want to have their warrior leap over to the shaman, fear him, charge back to his target, and do damage with a red stun on the red. So both teams want to CC the healer with either a warrior fear or a stormbolt, and then a hammer of justice on the red. That's your big go moment. That's when you want to land the burst. And if you can do that first time, you're going to force out, the trinket from the red, and he's going to use his sanctuary, which can dispel fear effects or stuns of his healer. You're going to see them trade that. Then the second time it happens, we're going to see maybe the shaman use his own trinket. And then the third time it happens, we can see a bubble. And then the 4th time it happens, that's when we can get a kill. And that's what happened in the previous game. Cowana Gaming was super close. They got that 4th stun where there was no answer, and they just lacked a little bit of damage to actually kill during that stun chain. And that's when the Spirit Link came in, and they were able to live and then eventually win the game on the side of Reload. So those are the setups, but the Shamans can also do a couple of things, and the Reds can do a couple of things to avoid this CC chain, such as preemptively using Fleshcraft. If you see that a Stormbolt is coming, or if you predict that the warrior is going to charge you and try to fear you, you can channel your Fleshcraft. It makes you immune to incoming crowd control for a couple of seconds. So if you time that perfectly, you can avoid it. And likewise, we saw Kara do this as well with his Sanctuary, preemptively using it. Basically, Sanctuary, if you are stunned and you use it, it dispels the stun. But obviously, if you're stunned, like as the ret, you can't use it on anybody else to dispel them. So what you have to do sometimes is you can use the Sanctuary. It's like a 2-second buff as well that reduces incoming crowd control by like 60 or 70%, something like that. So what we saw Kara do a couple of times is when he thought he was going to get stunned, he just popped it on his healer for that 1 or 2 second buff, and he reduced an incoming stun on his healer. So if you do that, you can also kind of shut down a setup preemptively from happening. So the long answer is the Reds and the Shamans have to play very well, but the short answer is also that if you can land your CC, you'll win.
Land your CC, you'll win. And right now we see crowd control landed onto Cowana Gaming, and Kara trades out that medallion like was being described in the strategy. So Reload Esports are slightly ahead. Cowana Gaming, they're going for their Stormbolt. Mystic Sanctuaries right before getting stunned, and that's going to allow them to get a pretty big lead. This is a great position to be in as Reload Esports in terms of medallion management. They just need to stabilize here. Let's see. I'm watching Tana's heals. Is he going to be using those healing waves or the healing surges? He's just trying to focus on Riptides at the moment, but he's going to eventually have to cast here. Going for Ascendance. So trying to play efficiently with cooldowns, but he gets stunned on it. The setups from Reload Esports have been back-to-back. Kara still locked down in a Hammer of Justice, but they don't get any big cooldowns. They didn't have enough burst damage during that stun lock. Now another Blessing of Protection preemptively from Mystic, but Lontar's not dispelling the Hodge. And now Mystic has to shield. They link? Okay, now Cowana Gaming are in a good spot. That was a blunder on Reload Esports' part.
Yeah, there's a lot of cooldowns coming in from Reload Esports, but they're on the back foot once again. I mean, they trade out the cooldowns, and they're still behind on damage. I don't know how this is possible. Mystic getting incredibly low, and with no safety nets, he could be in a lot of trouble.
Lava Burst!
Absolutely dropped. Cowana Gaming strikes back and showed dominance in game number 5.
That was sick. What Nerd Rage did there in the end, instead of using the Stormbolt from max range, because Stormbolt has a travel time and it's kind of slow, he leaps to his target and then Stormbolt's point blank. You're going to see it on the replay. That was really nice.
Yeah, really, really nice indeed. We've seen them do these incredible setups throughout this series here against Reload Esports. It just seems like there's nothing they can do against this team. Cowana Gaming very, very strong on this composition. We're going to see that right now.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we were talking about early on in the game. You can see there, preemptive Blessing of Protection onto Lontar, removing that stun. Mystic, actually no, he used his Divine Shield and the Blessing of Protection there to remove it. So big momentum swing here in terms of cooldowns. Cowana Gaming are pulling ahead. Tana is just spamming out heals at this point, trying to keep his team, nice and aggressive here. And now we're going to see Mystic dropping quite low here. And we're going to see here, there's the Lava Burst. Mercy actually was the one leaping in there to try to get the Stormbolt, but unfortunately for him, the Lava Burst went off, and they're able to get that kill.
Meatball delivery service.
No, didn't